Hello ladies and gentlemen and humanoids of all ages, and welcome back to another stream. Hopefully we can get it sorted this time, it's looking positive. It's looking positive, which is, I'm going to coast on okay. I'm going to fingers crossed, just everything crossed. Please stay constant so we can have a nice stream. And yes, so today we're going to be talking about, properly this time, I'm going to delete all the other videos, about gyrokinesis.
Right.
And for the third time, I have got my lovely co-host today, Sadira. Hello.
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 You're getting very good at the hello
Oh yeah,
part.
yeah. I know.
Really
I've had lots of practice at it now. And,
Yeah.
I even know the first question to ask you is, what is gyrokinesis?
What is gyrokinesis?
What is gyrokinesis? So it's not like we talked about before, honest.
Right. Okay. So gyrokinesis, it is a system of movement, as say Pilates is a system of movement, or yoga is a system of movement, and it can be used to condition the body, regain connection or awareness in your body, rehabilitate from injuries, it was invented by this guy who was a ballet dancer in the late 70s. His name is Juliu Horvath, and he was from Romania. And he was also before he was a ballet dancer, I think he was a gymnast, and he was also like a really pretty good swimmer, and he was dancing at the Houston Ballet Company when he ruptured a tendon or something, and so he could never dance again. So as you do, he sodded off to the Caribbean.
Of course, because everyone could just do that
when they're injured. He built himself a hut on some tiny little island in the Virgin Islands or something, and he studied, he did a lot of meditation, and he studied all these different movements and brought together all the systems of movement he'd learned from like gymnastics, swimming, ballet, and then also added different stuff, and kind of through exploration and also observing nature came up with this system. And he started teaching it to ballet dancers in New York in the early 80s.
So did he have influence then? Because I'm sure it wasn't just birthed out of his mind. That there must be backing with it.
Oh yeah, I think everyone who starts anything is influenced by something. So obviously he was informed by his years studying classical ballet. Also swimming. I mean, there are some definite like diving wave movements in there, and he had, I think, studied martial arts as well. So I think things definitely come in and you can see it, but it's interesting because actually I've studied some Graham technique dance. And when I was doing gyrokinesis and then I was doing Graham, I was like, oh my god, there are so many similarities. But I talked to one of my gyrokinesis master trainers who actually danced with the Graham company.
Wow.
She started with Gyrio because she broke her back while dancing. And she said she was in absolute agony. She couldn't walk, hardly. I mean, she was dancing, I don't know how, but so she was in absolute agony for 2 years. She starts working with Gyrio, and she said she was actually scheduled for a spinal surgery, and her surgery was a month away. So she starts working with Julio, and she said within 2 hours the pain stopped.
2 hours?
2 hours.
That's insane. That's incredible.
And then 2 weeks later, she was working obviously several hours a day. This was intense. This isn't like,
it wasn't just like come in, do an hour and a half.
No, she was kind of like, this was her life. So she went in there, I think, for hours every day, But 2 weeks later, she went to the hospital for the, this was 2 weeks after starting and 2 weeks before the operation was due to be. So she goes in for the pre-op checkup, and the doctors look at her spine and go, yeah, it doesn't look like you need an operation after all.
That's incredible. So she spent 2 years in pain and agony. The doctors finally, okay, we can operate. So now they're like, no, it'll be fine.
So she didn't need an operation. She is now... she's now dancing again. She's still dancing. I mean, it's 25 or something years later, and she's still dancing. And she's obviously a master trainer as well. So it's this kind of thing that's how it started. It's been very well known actually in the ballet community for a very long time. But it's only just now starting to kind of leak out into
the more into the more consciousness of the society sort of thing.
right.
So, sort of like with how yoga and everything took time, like
Which gyrotonic is like it's the machine version of gyrokinesis.
Yeah.
It's all one of the same thing.
Yeah, I saw some photos when I was doing a little bit of research for photos and
Yeah.
stuff, like all these massive crazy machines. I was kind of like, because I took a class with you, and
Right.
I was just
There was
all,
no
it was,
equipment.
It was a
Yeah,
chair. It was
yeah.
a chair at most sort of thing. That was
Yeah,
it sort
yeah.
of thing.
So the machines is for like added feedback, but
Yeah.
I'd walk past this studio and I'd be like, ooh, that's like the special studio where the dancers go, you know, like this, like, you know, ballet
Yeah.
dancers are a different kind of human being,
Yeah,
you know, which
yeah.
they kind of are, you know, in a
I mean, yeah,
gorgeous way, you know. Like,
I mean, they've worked so hard at a single profession sort of thing their whole life that their
Yeah.
whole bodies are just
Like,
shaped for it. Sort
absolutely,
of thing.
you know. So I'd kind of walk past, kind of like, ooh, you know,
Well, now they
I'd never dare to go in there, you know. And then it turns out it's just like fantastic for everyone, and yeah, and it's kind of, you know,
That's
just starting
incredible.
to get the word out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you qualified in 2015, wasn't it?
2016.
2016.
As a gyrokinesis teacher.
Yes.
2016 is when I got certified. Yeah.
But you started around the 2015, was that
Yes.
what we were talking about before? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
So that's when you
Yeah.
first properly took your dive into it and started like,
Right.
you know, started to feel around going, I can get into this sort of thing.
Yeah.
And how have you found it helping you compared to doing yoga and doing other stuff? Like, how is it different?
Well, you know, I love yoga. For me, gyrokinesis, but I came upon it when I was studying circus, when I was an aerialist, and so for years I've been sort of training to be a physical performer.
Yeah.
But not dance, but circus.
Yeah.
For years, some of the people I trained with would be like, okay, when you stretch or you condition, still move in the way that you would like to move when you're performing. Because if you, like, for instance, and I don't know how much you can see on the video, but if you're like stretching and you do a straddle, or I'm not going to do a straddle, but if I'm like doing a pike stretch, right, and I just sit there and I go like this, you know, and it's like, what's the point? Like, if I get to do a pike in performance and and then my body's just used to going, well, that's not going to look very good on stage, you know. So I had some trainers in San Francisco, and it was all very like extension and sort of like kind of something kind of like just flow and kind of add some beauty into your conditioning.
Okay.
And for me, like, gyrokinesis does this automatically.
Yeah.
It's such a flowy, beautiful thing, and the whole thing is that it's like a body yawn. That kind of like delicious kind of like, you're meant to feel good when you do it and look good.
Yeah.
You know, and the looking good just comes naturally. It's not like you have to worry about it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like Instagram photos good. It's like good from within it, and it's like when you move, you kind of get this delicious kind of like stretchy, yawny kind of.
Just like how you wake up in the morning and you're just like and you stretch all the fascia out, all the muscles out, and it's just like
it's like, and you should kind of like feel, and when you're doing that, when you have that kind of, it actually helps you extend to the very end, and it's like you're sending out your energy.
And you're stretching as well at the same time, even more so, because you're enjoying it, sort of thing. You're enjoying the stretch rather than just being a forced stretch. You're like, this is, just there. That's so good. Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it kind of sends the energy out beyond the end of your body.
Of course.
Which looks, when people are watching you, looks amazing.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can really be aware of at the point when you're performing, because if you're thinking about that, then
it doesn't happen as well, because
behind.
because the thing,
You
it's
know.
not something you think about. It's just something you do, and it's just, you feel it and you just stretch out, sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like doing something like gyrokinesis while you're, you know, as a practice, brings that into you, so it becomes part of who you are, a part of your body movement, and then you don't have to think about it when you're outside and expressing yourself to other people. Not that it's just for performance.
No, it's for everyone.
It's for everyone.
We would like to see it for everyone, because like I took a class in it. It would have been back about a month ago now, and we had about 8 or 9 of us, sort of thing. It was just something you get into. It's completely different from yoga, and it's like it's kind of like how you do like in the earlier Trying to Fix the Stream podcast. You were saying it's a join between Pilates and yoga in the sense that people can understand if they've done Pilates or if they've done yoga sort of thing. But it's a completely different form of moving, which unlocks and shifts different things inside of you, sort of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So
Exactly.
so it's completely unique to itself. It's not like a copy or a hack or anything sort of thing. It's completely itself, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. And Julio Horvath, who's the guy who invented it, he's actually trying to protect it, so that it doesn't get too like blended and mixed in, which has happened with so many other things. Like there's a million different types of yoga now, and they're all kind of like, I think the sages in India who invented that stuff are like looking from heaven or wherever they are, kind of going, oh, I don't know, broga, yoga lattes,
hot yoga,
what? Cold yoga, I don't know. You know, I mean, which is great. I mean, it totally has its place, and it's not a criticism at all. It's kind of fun, you know. But you know, as far as gyrokinesis goes, it's kind of nice. I think that it has training in. There are several different courses you go through before you're certified.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of tutorage before you can be classed as
certified. And even before you're certified, you go through this apprenticeship phase where you have to log. You have to teach people, but log the hours that you're teaching. So you've had the teaching practice before you're. You've already done several courses, so you're not going to hurt anyone. But you're not certified until you've actually practiced teaching, and then you do the certification, which is an interesting.
And are you guided by the tutor who's already qualified? Are they there guiding you along, or are you by yourself?
No, you're on your own.
Oh wow!
I mean, at that point, you've got the material. You've done, I think, 3 different courses already. 2, but long ones. And you've also, before you even start the teacher training courses, you have to do several, obviously a sort of prerequisite number of classes of your own practice.
Of course.
So I remember when I was the first teacher training course I went to, it's called the pre-training, and they said, this is what gyrokinesis does for you, and it had a list, and it was all about centering your chakras and detoxifying and makes you feel younger, and it was practically like, it releases your fascia, it makes you stronger, fitter, more flexible, it gives you cardio. And I was just reading this list and I'm like, will it make me blonde? I mean,
how many more things can this thing do? How
many more things can this thing promise? It's kind of getting. I was a little bit skeptical.
It's kind of to the point going like, yeah, sure it can, sure, yeah, I believe you, sure. Like, I'm just gonna find the door, and just have fun over here, yeah.
And I was just wondering, like, when I saw the detox thing, I was like, really, does exercise, can it really claim to detoxify your lymphatic system?
That's what something I found tough to believe in.
And then I did it, and I have to say, I didn't get it in that particular pre-training module. Well, with processed food and what have you, has a sluggish lymphatic system or a sluggish digestive system.
Of course, with fast food and
eat more fiber.
So true. More fiber, more fruit, more veg.
Yeah. Celery. There's nothing to do with gyrokinesis, but celery.
Just remember this. Celery, okay?
Let's have a vegetable Tourette's moment, Cabbage. Potatoes. I don't know about the nightshades, though. Oh, the nightshades.
Oh, dear.
Oh, the nightshades. Kale.
Well, there's such superstition around food, though, isn't there? It's all this. This is bad for you. This is good for you. It's like fat's bad for you. Now fat's good for you. But on certain times, fish is bad for you, but fish is good for you. It gets to the point where I don't care. I'm just going to eat what I eat.
Yeah, it's like there's this comedian Lewis Black. He was saying that. He was like, first of all, eggs were good for you. Then eggs are bad for you. He's like, make up your mind. It's breakfast. I gotta eat.
It's so true, though. It's like everything's bad for you. Everything's gonna kill you.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
I can't deny that. That's one.
We're all gonna die.
We're all gonna die.
All gonna die.
So feel good. I mean, the rest you're gonna die. So I mean, it's gonna be. Yeah.
I grew up on margarine because apparently butter was bad for you back then.
And then now butter's okay for you.
And now butter's like great for you.
And now
apparently,
margarine's bad for you.
and honestly, margarine sucks.
It is so bad. Like I only ever had margarine for I think for cakes and stuff like that. Like we use margarine butter for cakes.
Right.
Always because I grew up in Ireland, so we had Irish butter. It's so good.
Pasture-fed cows.
It's so good.
You know.
Yeah.
So I was reading. Okay, this is totally off topic,
Yeah,
and we
it's
will
fine.
get back to gyrokinesis,
Yeah.
but you know it'll break for everyone's brain. But I was reading this thing in the Bulletproof book, which didn't particularly work for me, but you know it does work for some people. But they were talking about how grass-fed butter has some like essential fatty somethings in it that you can't get from any other vegetable oil, and it's really really good for you.
Yeah.
It has but it has to be grass-fed cows. And in the supermarket, there are so many. There's like farm fresh butter. What the hell is that? What is that? And it's all like produce of England, farm fresh.
Yeah. It's just
What
words.
does that mean?
It's
just words. The only one that actually said pasture-fed is Kerrygold.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, all cows live on because the thing is in Ireland there's more cows than people.
Right, and they have to be pasture-fed. They have to actually be eating grass, not grain-fed.
No, they're all in the fields because
other cow-fed.
Oh, I don't know about that. No, like it's all like in Ireland we use it's either fields or in wintertime we use the hay. So the farmers generally hay bale their own hay up, have it stored up sort of thing, and then they'll feed the cows the hay in the wintertime sort of thing.
God bless Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, Anchor in New Zealand is supposed to be that too, but they don't actually say it on the butter.
You don't know. That's the thing. Like, there's so many products out there which say that they do. It's these fancy words. We look at going, oh, that looks good.
Yeah.
Ooh, that looks
Local,
good.
farm fresh.
Yeah,
It sounds great. Produce of Somerset. I'd love to buy it.
Yeah.
But I'm just not sure if it's like a bunch of grain-fed cows or not.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's a good God. Talk about first world problems.
but there's also lies out because it's like from Somerset, but by that they mean it's packaged in Somerset, and then it's shipped off to you, sort of thing. So it's not actually from there. It could be from some other country where it's cheaper, but it's packaged there and then sent off, sort of thing. That's how they get away with it.
Honey. Oh, this honey is like lavender flower honey, and you think, oh my gosh, it's a particular flower. Obviously, it's from a hive. It's near a patch of lavender, and it's like produce in more than one country, and you're like,
Yep. So like 1% of it was next to lavender at some point.
Yeah.
Just the rest of it wasn't. Help get the mites off, which keep them better, basically.
I also did see a video recently. It was a TED talk.
Yeah.
This guy was talking about they are breeding a mite-resistant bee.
Interesting.
And they're going to introduce it into the wild. But they're still. Apparently, they bred this mite-resistant bee, but apparently it lost its gentleness. Yeah. Because bees generally are gentle unless someone like whacks them and then they sting you out of self-defense.
Exactly.
They lose their gentleness, so they're having to crossbreed them with regular bees that are still gentle to try and so if they can get mite-resistant but still be nice and produce honey. Be nice.
so it's the monster from Frankenstein.
It is, the mite-resistant monster, and apparently, so they're aggressive and they don't make honey anymore. So it's like,
we fixed one problem, but we've created
it's like
two.
this is what happens when you
when you
I
mess
don't know what kind of bad words can you say on YouTube? Like, I should be careful.
Well,
right?
small. Some channels use it all, but you just don't get monetized. But we don't get monetized anyway because we're not big, so that's fine.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, but it's
let's just say mess with nature.
Screwing up with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
I guess coming back from
let's
that,
go back.
well, we can use that because gyrokinesis uses the body naturally. It's not forced poses. It's not unnatural. No. It's using where the body is and where it can stretch out to, sort of thing.
Yes. Yeah. And also, it is completely. I mean, I've been talking a lot about performers and dancers because it started that way, but it's completely not. It's not a performative system. Yeah. Like Pilates isn't a performative system, except now on Instagram it kind of is. And so is yoga.
Well, it's the issue of becoming popular, isn't it?
Exactly. They didn't start out that way. And actually, but Pilates still is like, it's not like, yoga's definitely kind of like, definitely at the front of the pack in terms of like cool Instagram pictures,
Yeah, and then Pilates is sort of more seen as the gym, more slightly older generation that does it, is how it normally is, isn't it, Pilates?
Yeah, well...
I
don't know. I've seen some Instagram posts where it's definitely like a lot of dancers do it as well. So you get these, hot chicks in yoga pants.
Just doing Pilates,
Just doing Pilates, yeah. And being absolutely fabulous, you know. Doing like leg scales, like 180 degree, no problem. Like,
Which one of the benefits of gyrokinesis is it's for anyone. So it's not specialised at all.
Yeah.
Like it did start off with dancers because that was of course his field when he came to it with this is what I've got to share with the world.
Exactly.
But now it's it's teachable to anyone of any sizes, any way of living sort of.
He actually apparently he had to take it down a notch. Like I think when he first started, because he was dealing with basically the New York City Ballet.
Yeah.
You know,
he was
all the things we did were like back extension to the million. And just touch your head with your foot and back
just,
again,
there you go.
But it
feel
didn't
that.
mean anything, you know. So he took it down to what is, you know, fully accessible to everyone. But even again, you know, with what I'm teaching now, it's like I actually had the privilege of teaching the same material to my 68-year-old stepmom.
Yeah.
Who had back problems
Yeah.
and then didn't after you know, she went, you know, I did a class with her. She went to bed that night. She woke up the next morning. She's like, I slept really well for the first time in ages. And I'm like, you're welcome.
That's incredible because it shows your results in your real life. So instead of just like something you heard about because the story of your tutor is something you heard about from her sort of thing, whereas you did it yourself and you did it to someone, they just go, I feel amazing. First time.
Which is really kind of, it was like a real
it's a
encouragement.
reinforcement.
Real encouragement. So you know that's on one hand, you know, I've worked with my mom who's like pushing 80, you know. I didn't say that, she doesn't want anyone to know. And also, you know, the last time I was in New York doing a course, I got to teach this, you know, practicing dancer. I think she's like 19 or 20 or something. And she's in the Graham Company. She's, you know, she's full on like, you know, her body range of motion is so much better than mine, you know. And, but because I, you know, had the material, you know, I was teaching her through it and she was asking me questions and she was like, can I go further? I'm like, go as far as you want to go. So she could take what I did and then just extend it to what she could do.
Yeah, exactly, you know? To her flexibility.
Exactly. So it didn't matter that I don't have that range of motion in my body, as long as the intention is there.
Exactly.
She can go more. You know, I mean, I taught some contortionists in San Francisco. That was fun.
You just go as far as you can.
Yeah.
You do know we're contortionists, right? yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, exactly. Like pretzel down, you know.
Pretzel legs over there, bent
but
background.
It's really interesting. You know, it's like working with people. You know, I have obviously more flexibility than my 6-year-old, than my stepmom, and I have much less flexibility than a contortionist, and still like able to work with both. Sort of, and you know, the contortionist I work with got another angle of it, which was, I think so. I mean, obviously, I think most contortionists out there have worked on their technique because you have to be safe,
of course.
You know? But even then, like what I did with what the gyrokinesis did with them is kind of build on that sense of connection and extends the sense of extending through the range of motion rather than just kind of like relying on your flexibility to get into it. So, which they are trained not to do, but this reinforced that. So that everything we did created space rather than kind of like collapsing into it.
Rather than just using that flexibility, I'm done.
Exactly,
Rather than actually going, I'm flexing.
Which is kind of, exactly, to actually create space in the spinal cord when you're doing a back bend.
Which is really interesting because that falls into, because I do massage therapy and that falls in the same place because what we do is create space and openings and release stuff again, sort of thing. It's not going to the point. It's going to the point where you're releasing, you're relaxing, you're stretching out, and people are feeling that openness, sort of thing. It's the same thing with gyrokinesis. It's moving the muscles in ways that they're pulling themselves and stretching out and creating space inside the body.
Exactly. And also we do. Well, gyrokinesis does use, like for instance, we'll use a hand on a knee to help kind of like spiral around, but a lot of it relies on the body itself. So it's very active flexibility, and it's where the body goes. So you're not sort of like pushing into the splits or anything. You know, your leg lifts up to where it goes. You know, so of course you can hit yourself in the face if you want to, if you can, or you can be like here. You know, so it depends on where your body is, and then you work on your strength in that moment. You know, it's just really, really cool.
And the interesting thing is, like with yoga, it's all about stretching out to get as effective as you can, sort of thing. But gyrokinesis is different to that in the sense that it's about creating that space inside, and you can feel the effects on the first lesson. Rather than with yoga, it takes time. If you get what I mean, like yoga, you have to practice it lots.
Yeah, I think it depends on the type of yoga. Ages ago, I did Iyengar quite intensely for a couple of years. It crossed my mind to train as a teacher, and then I never did, and now like you can't swing a cat without hitting a yoga teacher, so there's no point, you know. But the thing is with Iyengar, I'll take that because that's the one I know. Is actually you come out of a class, and if the teacher's good, which I've been fortunate in my teachers. Shout out to Joan Nautonas in San Francisco. Gamboujac Rojan in Montpellier.
I'll share
if
this
this ever gets out to those people,
I'll share it to you on Facebook so you can share it to them, sort of thing.
Oh, they're not on Facebook. I mean,
wonderful.
If you're in San Francisco, Joe Nautonas. He teaches at the Presidio. He's awesome. And if you're in Montpellier, Gamboujac Rojan. Anyway, okay. So, you know, that's the thing. It's like you go to a class of theirs, you stay in the poses. They're so anatomically correct. And you come out and you can feel like the space created, even in just one class. Because Iyengar itself is so in depth. You know, I mean, I think all kinds of yoga obviously have different types of benefits. That's why they were invented. But I can't speak for all of them because I just don't know.
Of course,
But that was my experience with Iyengar. So I don't want to say that it doesn't have an effect.
It's just different. It's just different forms.
Different. And for instance, you know, like different people can have a different
of course.
You know, like I had a friend. You know, people swear by hot yoga, right? They're all like, "Well, this is the temperature in India, therefore we have to." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, but gimmick." But I remember once in San Francisco, I was looking for a cheaper yoga class, big mistake. And there was one. It was Vikram. It was like first class $10, second class free. Well, I spent 45 minutes of that hour and 15 literally, you know, when the expression you black out, when you faint, right? They say, "Oh, you blacked out." I blacked out. I got to learn the origin of that expression. I got to learn that firsthand in that Bikram yoga class, because for 45 minutes out of that hour and 15 class, I literally physically saw black right in front of my face the whole time.
That's incredible.
Yeah, like physically I could see it right here because it was just so hot. And I was going so far beyond what my body would normally be able to do because it was hot. That it was like I was on the verge of blacking out for 45 minutes, like just on the verge, and I could literally see black, and I'm like, oh, that's where that expression comes from. Interesting. I'm never coming back.
Just looking at it going, just poking the blackness.
Pretty much, you know, like doing forward bend and watching like my